Good afternoon, good morning, grand rising, good evening, whatever time it is where you're at. I hope your day or evening is going well. I'm here to you guys today with the newest painting that I have. I call this one RPG Squidward. I was kind of wanting to fuse like Link and a little bit of SpongeBob for this one. I felt like having Squidward instead of actually having SpongeBob would be something fun because SpongeBob, and is one of my favorite shows, and I feel like Squidward is one of my favorite characters. He's always been hilarious, so I felt like doing Squidward in an RPG would be dope. I was playing the South Park game on PS5. I was playing the Stick of Truth, I believe, and it kind of got an idea for trying to like what other RPGs would they do, and this is kind of where this one came from. So for this one, I wanted to start out with the background, and I wanted to do something I didn't feel like was super complicated. I had seen a lot of artwork where the background was just a simple flat color and maybe with some graphic elements, so I decided to go with a blue background to have the different blues, one of my favorite colors, and I felt like blue would contrast this really well. And then I have sort of going in with the Triforce colors. I mixed a little bit of yellow ochre, and a few different browns, like a deeper brown. I think it was burnt umber for some of these colors. You can see here me going in with the shading, definitely using the burnt umber there on that part to get those shadings, to try to get that texture. I wanted to try to create a 3D effect as well, so you'll see me before when I went in with the background with those darker blues, I did that so I can try to create the shadow for the Triforce, so that way it can look like it's actually raised off of the canvas rather than just laying directly onto the canvas. And here we start getting into the flats of the character. I wanted to start with the belt because I felt like that was something that wasn't too risky. This was my first time doing an actual character that wasn't my own character, so I wanted to start with elements that I felt like wouldn't have to necessarily take the most risk. If I mess something up, I can always go back and fix the belt. I can always go back and fix the background. But in the biggest thing, I also don't like the waist color. So since I had just used a lot of that dark brown, I felt like we could also then use that dark brown for the belt as well. You always want to use the most of your colors that you can. So two birds, one stone. And then, like I said, since I want to do a flat background and something that was simple and contrasting, I just went with the lower, not necessarily the half, but like the lower third of the canvas with the orange to kind of give that be like a ground that he's sitting on. And I had the idea with him kind of resting his leg up. If you've ever played Skyrim, there was like, I was an adventurer until I took an arrow to the knee, so I figured we'd have his knee kind of up to kind of play off of that. That's the reason why I have his leg up like that. And here I took some of that yellow ochre, mixed it in with the orange and some of that brown to get some of the shading color. Like I said before, I still want to have it like Squidward, and anything that is on the canvas to be in 3D. You want it to be in the space, so I always try to add shadows to do that. And here I'm going in with those same colors that I just used, like I said, for the shadow. And then I use that on the buckle, and then I just went over that with some of the yellow ochre to kind of give that a lighter color. So like I said, you don't want to waste any color. So if you can find another place to use the colors that you have, always try to do that, so that way you don't waste any paint, because paints are not cheap, and you always want to use the most you can of your supplies. And right now, you'll see me going in and adding in the hearts and adding in some of the red colors now. And I feel like once I actually started adding some of the other colors into this, I really started to feel like it was really starting to come to life. I feel like having those pops of colors that aren't necessarily exactly in the overall color palette, but having that as an accent color and a pop of color always adds something extra to the piece. And for me, this red on this particular one was that color because it draws your eye to the piece, since everything else is very harmonious. I also think this was my first time getting to draw a sword. It's crazy because I used to always draw swords anytime I got to draw with markers and paints and stuff like that. Well, not paint, but what is it called? Microns. I used to use a lot of multi-liners and pencils and stuff like that back in the day when I would use my sketchbook versus digital. So it's actually funny to see me actually get a chance to do more of my stuff that I used to do. I didn't do a lot of characters that weren't mine, but I always did a lot of fantasy artwork, I would say. I always try to do a lot of fantasy stuff. I love to do those characters. I play a lot of Final Fantasy, so a lot of that always bleeds over into my artwork. So I always like to create those different universes and those otherworldly characters. So I think being able to bring Squidward to The Legends of Zelda with a little bit of Mario video. I think that was just something like a fun combination, just something different to have. It kind of let me do something outside of the realm of stuff that I'm used to with this one, since it wasn't my own character. But I think it was just a fun experiment, something to see how the paints behave and go in here with this. And as you've seen, I went in and then I added some of the shadow colors. I always try to use a bit of the darker colors, a little bit of blue. I try to use not use black, because the black usually a lot of time will dull out your shading. So I try to use as many other colors as I can as possible. So since I have that set, I think it's like 25. I try to use a lot of the other purples and blues to go in and create those other colors. Right now I'm creating a green, so that way I can go in and create is it a tunic? I think Link is wearing. So I created some of the greens to go in and create this tunic. I didn't want to go in with just a straight green from the tube, because when I do a lot of times I feel like I usually don't like the green. So I mixed like a hunter green with an olive green to get the base color, and then I went in with some darker colors. As you see, a lot of that olive green coming in now, and a lot of that more hunter green coming in now as well. And then I put a lot of dark blue in that as well to get the shading. And as you saw a few moments ago, I always use a blow dryer whenever I'm painting, because I'm very impatient. I know that acrylics dry pretty fast, but I don't have that much time to do a lot of the artwork. So I usually try to speed up the time process so that way I can get into my commissions faster, do the digital artwork. I'm also creating websites, so I have to have as much time as I can in my day. So rather than let the paints dry naturally, a lot of the time I'll go in with the blow dryer and just speed the paint up. As well, to create the lighter colors, with this particular one, I did use some small amounts of yellow and a lot of white with those colors that I had to create the highlights for the tunic. And then I went in with a very light, I have a color, I can't think of what it's called, but it's like almost like a turquoise color. And I just went in with that with some white to really get this base color. And then I'll go in and add some shading and highlights as well, using the same process before, just a little bit of white and yellow for the highlights, and then a little bit of dark blues and purples for the shadow. And here you'll see me just layering up the shadows. Like I said before, you really want to build up the layers. So I'll always go in with one color, one shade, one tone, let that dry or blow dry that, then come back over with another shade. And I try to add as many different colors as possible, because one of the things I really like about paint is the way that you can layer those up and the way you can put a lot of different colors together. In my digital artwork, I'm very vibrant, very colorful, so I want to bring that as well to my painting. I don't want to get boring at all, so I want to add as many colors as I can that still work together, but as many colors as you can, because I feel like, again, it's paint. Who wants to be boring? Okay, and then we're just about finished with this one. Only thing that's left to do with this one is just do some more few details. I ended up doing some line art with this one once I let it dry and looked at it the next day, and then also varnished it as well, so maybe I'll show that process. But I'm gonna let you guys see how it looks when it's finished in just a few moments.